go to electronic dance music festivals, you'll see some very experienced shufflers freestyling old school Melbourne style. It's basically 2 moves with variations, the running man and the T-step. A couple days ago, I produced a 9-minute video on how to do the basic running man, breaking it down all the way to each individual component. And a couple weeks ago, I did a detailed tutorial on how to combine the running man and the T-step. So this is going to be another very long, very detailed tutorial on how to do the T-step, broken down into very small components. All right, so let's get to it. Okay, so step 1 is going to be 2-foot parallel pivots. In order to do this, all we're going to be doing is pivoting heel to toe across the floor, one side to another. Now, what's really important here is you try to get as much of an arc as you can. Like I'm literally trying to go an entire half circle from one side to the next. And do this until you feel pretty comfortable. Now, a lot of people struggle with the heel part because they have to go up on their heels like this. And that's not a very comfortable position if you haven't done that very often. Most people are pretty good at being on their tiptoes to do the tiptoe part. But make sure when you're doing the heel part, you're also getting some height with your toes so that you can get a full pivot. That wide arc is really critical. Okay, once you're comfortable with those 2-footed parallel pivots, we're going to go on to step 2, which is a stationary single foot pivot. So in this case, almost all of your weight is going to be on one leg. Your other leg is just going to be slightly touching the floor for support. So you might have a tiny little bit of weight on that leg, but I want you to try to get most of your weight onto one foot. And then I want you to work on those same wide arc pivots in the direction of the supporting leg. So let me turn around from the back. So I'm going to put my right leg out for support. My left leg is just going to pivot in toward it. And I'm trying to make wide arcs with my pivoting foot fully weighted. And then, of course, the other direction, same thing. I'm going to put my left foot down for support. My right foot is going to pivot toward it with as wide these arcs as I can. And if you are not yet comfortable putting all of your weight on one ankle like that, stay at this step for a while with the supporting leg. You can also use a supporting chair if you need. And then make sure that you are even on both sides. A lot of people learning the T-step are not even on both sides. They definitely have a dominant side. So practice your weaker side as well. And this stationary step is a really great way to start building up some confidence in being able to move laterally across the floor on one foot. And then once you're confident with that, now we're going to go to the unsupported single foot pivots. So in this case, I want you to pivot across the floor without any support. One leg is going to be up, the other leg is going to be doing all the pivoting. One side to the other, over and over again. Now you'll notice that my hips are swinging kind of freely here. And I'm doing that on purpose. It's okay for your hips to swing because when you finally get to the last step, your hips aren't going to be able to swing because your free leg is going to be needing to do something. But right now, when you're practicing it, you can just go ahead and swing away. I do want you to stay as balanced as you can though. So if your ankles aren't that strong yet, and this is really a challenge, then stay at the supported stationary single foot pivots before you move on to this. So again, just quickly from the back. So I'm weighted on my left foot, my right leg is up, and I'm always going to be pivoting in the direction of my free leg. Don't pivot opposite that. That's a different move, and we'll save that for another time. So you're pivoting in the direction of the free leg. Okay, and this step in the process is really critical because in the T-step, you have to be fully weighted on one leg. And your ankles aren't going to be really used to doing that, and so this is something you're going to have to build in terms of stabilizer muscles in your ankles. So make sure that you're really comfortable moving across the floor laterally with those nice wide arcs on just one leg in both directions. Okay, we're going to leave that bit for a second and go to step 4. Step 4 is going to be the perch to the tap. So when we do the perch to the tap, we start in a pigeon-toed perch. Both of our toes are pointed inward. My left leg is fully weighted, and all I'm going to do is pivot on my toe and tap down with my free leg. So again, pigeon-toed perch, tap down. I'll do it from the back. Pigeon-toed perch, I'm weighted on my left, tap down. And I'm making sure I get a good arc with my pivoting foot. So again, pigeon-toed perch, tap down. Again, pigeon-toed perch, tap down. Same thing on the other side, pigeon-toed perch, tap down. Again, pigeon-toed perch, tap down. Again, tap. And 2 things are important with doing this pigeon-toed perch to the tap. The first one is to make sure that your weight is somewhat centered over your weighted leg. So when I tap down here, I'm not actually putting any weight. I'm really just touching the floor. So you can see that all of my weight is really centered over my weighted leg here. So it's not from here to here, where I'm leaning way over, nor is it the other way, where I'm touching down but leaning too far the other direction. I want to be pretty centered over my weighted leg. And then the second important thing is when I'm tapping down, I'm actually tapping down with my hips open. So I'm starting pigeon-toed, and I want to go to a heels in position. And so when I tap down, I'm kind of both heels in. Now, it's not a great big dramatic twist in. It can be actually pretty subtle. But what's important about shapes, especially these early shapes, is that your toes always point together and your heels always point together. So when I'm up like this, my toes are pointed together. When I'm down like this, my heels are pointed together. Step 5, we're going to come out of the toe tap now. So we started pigeon-toed, perch. We came down into a tap. Now, in order to come back up to pigeon-toed perch and to keep traveling to the side, I have to pivot on my heel. So up to here. So I started pigeon-toed. I'm pivoting on my toe to tap down. And then to come back up, I'm pivoting on my heel. So pigeon-toed perch, tap down, heel pivots now to back up to perch. Same thing on the other side, pigeon-toed perch, tap down, pivot on your heel to come back up to perch. Pigeon-toed perch, pivot on the toe to tap down, pivot on the heel to return. And again, because pivoting on your heel is sort of a new feeling for your body, that's not going to be real easy to do. So be careful about doing really nice wide toe pivots and really weak heel pivots. You want that heel pivot to make it all the way around. Okay, now step 6, we're going to put the whole thing together. So here I'm going to start on a pigeon-toed perch. I'm going to tap down, and then I'm going to pivot on my heel to go back to pigeon-toed. I'm going to tap down again, pivoting on my toe, pivot on my heel to go back up, tap down again. And of course, eventually, if I keep doing that, I'm going to run into the wall. So I'm going to have to do a switch to go the other direction. And to do that, we're just going to do a basic heels in transition. So we're starting here, pigeon-toed perch. We do an open hip tap down, pivoting on the toe. Pivot on the heel to go back up. Pivot on the toe to tap down. And then let's do one more up. And now when I come down, instead of doing a tap, I'm actually just going to land heels in like this. Now I'm able, since I'm fully weighted on both feet, I'm able to shift my weight to the other side to go back up to a pigeon-toed perch. Now I'm able to keep going in the other direction. So I'm perched here. I'm going to tap down, pivoting on my toe. I'm going to pivot on my heel to go back up. I'm going to tap down, pivoting on my toe, pivot on my heel to go back up. And now we're going to change feet again, so it's going to be heels in. Shifting my weight to the other side, pigeon-toed perch, tap. Pigeon-toed perch, tap. Pigeon-toed perch, heels in. Pigeon-toed perch, tap. Pigeon-toed perch, tap. Pigeon-toed perch, tap. Pigeon-toed perch, heels in. Okay, and that's the entire move. And then to level up from there, you're just going to increase your speed. But don't increase your speed too much too fast, because that's just going to trip you up and make you frustrated. Make sure that you're still going nice and slow until you have the muscle memory, and then start picking up speed very gradually. Toes in, heels in. Toes in, heels in. Toes in, heels in. Toes in, change feet. Toes in, heels in. Toes in, heels in. Toes, heels, toes, change feet. Okay, and then you can also make sure that you're using your arms. A lot of people find it a lot easier to point toward the tapping foot. For some reason, that really helps the brain connect the heels into the tap. If that helps you, great. If that just confuses you because you're adding another element that you don't want to think about, then don't worry about that. But at least feel free to use your arms. I didn't do it in the demo so much because I was going slow. But you can definitely use your arms to help you keep balance while you're moving side to side. You don't want your arms stiffly hanging at your side anyway. That looks too robotic. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. See you next time.